All right, today on the show, we have Greg McDaniel from the McDaniel Callahan Team of EXP in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. Greg is also the host of the super popular real estate podcast called Real Estate Uncensored. Let me tell you a little bit about Greg. He grew up in a real estate family. He learned the business firsthand from his father, Terry, who's affectionately known as the Grand Master. Greg learned the old school fundamentals of salesmanship from door knocking, cold calls, script, and dialogue. Combined with his passion for the latest technology and social media, Greg has created a blend of high tech and high touch that allows him to regularly sell $1 million plus homes in the East Bay. With over 21 years in the business and this is incredible, it's even hard for me to say it because it just gives me anxiety to say this number. The number is 450,000 cold calls. Again, I'm going to say 450,000, actually more than 450,000 cold calls under his belt. Greg has truly earned the nickname the Junior Grandmaster. Please, everyone listening or watching, subscribe to Real Estate Uncensored. Pull up a podcast app, search for Real Estate Uncensored, and it'll pop right up. It's on every platform, so you'll find it there. Greg, welcome to the show. Super excited to have you.
DJ, thank you so much for the incredibly kind entry on that one. And yes, it was crazy back when I was doing my cold calls as an aggressive young agent. I was doing 500 to 750 phone calls per day.
That's insane.
Dude, I did it in batches. Every 250 phone calls, I had to go take a break. My brain had to numb out and everything else. But, I grew up door knocking. I was a screwball that I came out of college, which I flunked out of college, actually. And this is a very widely known thing. I'm dyslexic and ADHD. And so my dad's like, hey, dum-dum, come work with me. And I'm like, I don't want to work with you. That's what old people do. Old people do real estate. And he's like, yeah. Okay. Anyways, enough. Come and work with me. And so I was such a screwball that my first year in the real estate business, I didn't work with the client. I was literally door knocking. I was doing 100 to 200 doors a day, coming back, writing letters, and then doing calls through our database on a consistent basis. So, I mean, when you talk about bootstrapping it, oh, homeboy, like, that is exactly where I came from. That's why I can talk about this and laugh about it, because everyone says, oh my God, this business is so hard. I'm like, no, the business isn't hard. You just don't work. Okay. Yeah. You got to put the hustle on. You got to do the grind. You got to do the things that people don't want to see, don't want to do. You got to do the things that are unsexy and that nobody will ever take credit for. But guess what? That's what makes success, is being in the background when nobody wants to be back there and doing the things nobody wants to do. And then waking up on Monday, doing it on Monday, doing it on Tuesday, doing it on Wednesday, doing it on Thursday, doing it on Friday, doing it on Saturday, take Sunday off because it's the Lord's Day, and, go out and have some fun and drink a couple of beers. It's real estate.
Yeah, you just said a whole lot, and I want to unpack some of that because you just gave a lot of wisdom, and I want to give a couple anecdotes myself. So I started a million years ago. I was a financial advisor, and I remember I was at a white glove firm, one of the top firms, or at least perceived as one of the top firms. But the reality was, I got there, they gave me a phone book, and this is a prestigious firm. They're like, start dialing. And we would have to make a minimum of 200 dials a day. And imagine, like, real estate's one thing because everyone's got to live somewhere, of course. By the way, not an easy call either. However, going, hey, by the way, I'd like to manage 100% of your net worth over the phone we weren't selling stocks. We were like trying to become true, get their entire net worth. And that was just, every call, nobody ever said yes, but then I'd leave voicemails, and once in a while people would return the call. And it was, in a way, it was kind of nice because even though today I wouldn't do that approach, I don't think that would work as a financial advisor. Today, I think it's just too tricky, especially with canned spam, especially with the do not call. But I will tell you that it gave me a discipline of like, oh, all I have to do is just do this. And yeah, I'm going to get failure all day long, but eventually someone's going to call me back. And I think that discipline is sort of lost today, especially for real estate agents that aren't necessarily given a blueprint like that. And door knocking, my goodness, like that's an even next level. Cold calling is one thing. Door knocking is incredibly scary. But I guess after you do it for a day or two, it's probably not scary at all. It just becomes, well, I'm just going to get the door slammed in my face once in a while, and that's just how it goes.
You know what? The funny thing is that most people, 97% of the time, you're going to have a failure rate when it comes to real estate, because only 3% of the time people are going to actually going to want to talk about real estate at that
Sure.
exact moment. So
Right.
knowing that and being okay with that and going out there and doing that is one thing. You know, when I used to do door knocking, now that we're in COVID, or whenever you're going to listen to this, you understand what I'm saying. You know what? I used to bitch about going door knocking. Like, gosh dang it, like this effing sucks.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, hold on, pump the brakes, homeboy. Let's look at this real quick. What am I doing? I'm outside, I'm in fresh air, I have sun on my face, and I'm
Yeah.
controlling my day. Why am I upset about this? Because someone's going to say no, when other people are having to do like 2 to 3 TPS reports with 6 managers breathing down their necks with
Right.
piped in air, and fluorescent lights on their faces all day long. I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
um Although I will tell you one story, and then we'll get down
Please.
to the good stuff. Two stories, actually. This happened in one day, by the way. I was door knocking in a place. I live in a city called Alamo, which is in the East Bay, very ritzy area. Well, I don't live there, I grew up there. But I was walking down this cul-de-sac, and I was kind of in my own brain. I wasn't really thinking about much. And all of a sudden I look up, and I'm not kidding you, dude. There's probably 150 to 170-pound pit bull standing in the middle of the cul-de-sac. And I'm like, oh shit, that's the house I have to go to. And he just looks at me real slow, you look like a good T-bone. And I decided, okay, animals can smell fear. Don't freak out. Just walk past and say, nice doggy. So I walked past him, said, nice doggy. Walked there. I'm like, nobody answered. Dog didn't move. I'm like, bye, doggy. And I walk past, and I was sweating bullets when I get out of the cul-de-sac, and I'm just about dying. And I'm like, okay, the day cannot get any worse than this.
Right.
Right. So I do a couple more streets, and I come around to another cul-de-sac. And I remember this house so distinctly. And I get in there, and I see this old man comes to the front door, and he's in a wheelchair. And I'm like, hello, sir. My name's Greg McDaniel. I'm with blah, 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 yakety schmack, realty, yada, yada. And he had a towel over his lap, and he pulls the towel back. There's a 44 Magnum revolver sitting on his lap. And he's like, so what do you want? And I said, absolutely nothing. Goodbye.
I thought you were going to go a different direction with you when he pulled the towel back over his lap. but either way, both very scary. Both equally scary.
Not things you want to see. Not things
Not
you want to
things you
see.
want to see. Well, maybe not equally scary, but definitely scary. That's hysterical. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, back to the financial advisor world. I know. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of the Raymond James, I think. Raymond James is this financial advisory firm, and that was their whole thing. And I remember I even interviewed with them before I went with the firm that I went with, and they were like, "How do you feel about door knocking?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to do that." They were like, "Well, don't come here because that's what we do." And as I look back, and I live in a big city, so it wouldn't have really worked that well anyway. Here in Chicago, it would have been trickier, but I think it's such a great way to get some discipline under your belt and understand that failure is not that big of a deal. Like, it just isn't. And but you don't know that until you just get that hang up or that door slam enough times to where you're like, oh, this doesn't really matter. Like, it's just no big deal.
Yeah, it's no big deal at all. My father, he's an OG of the business. He's been in it for 49 years, like you said in the intro. He actually got started in Boulder, Colorado. He and my mom met in Boulder at college. And after he married my mother, he literally, and I mean literally, had no money. And so what he did in the snow, we call it his clown suit. He'd put on this like $50 suit, which is all he could afford. He put on his galoshes, and he would go out door knocking in the snow every single day.
Wow.
And the way he went, he thought about it was this. He's like, you know what? Everybody's sick, and I'm a doctor, and I'm here to cure them. And his brother had polio. So he said, you know what? I had the cure for polio, and everybody likes me. They just don't know me yet. And so he would do this every single stinking day, and his business exploded. He's one of the biggest agents in Boulder, Colorado for a long period of time. He got the biggest IBM account ever awarded to an agent, and it's all because he went out there and he met people, and he wasn't afraid of hearing the word no. The word no only holds power when you let it hold power, and a lot of us allow it to hold power because forgive me for saying this, we're a bunch of snowflakes.
Right.
Everybody's got, their feelings get hurt so easily, when in reality, dude, just man up. My grandfather went to the Vietnam War, and not
Right.
Vietnam. He went to the Korean War, and he was out there at 18 years old with a gun on his back, storming beaches. And a
Yeah.
lot of folks get afraid of hearing the word no, we don't want to sell, and they want to cry and go into a corner. It's like, I'm not faulting for anybody for having feelings. Don't get me wrong. What I am saying is, toughen up a little bit.
Yeah.
This is a meat grinding, bone crushing industry. Better have the freaking, the huevos to walk through the fire, because you are going to get burned. I guarantee you on that one.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that are just going to hurt. You're going to be scared when you want to pick up the phone and call that client that you haven't talked to in a few years, and you sort of dropped the ball, but you want to reconnect. It's going to freak you out. You're going to get freaked out when your buddy who goes with a different realtor instead of you, or a deal falls through, or a million things that are going to go wrong. It's all going to happen, and you're going to feel crappy about it. But the idea of feeling that those awful feelings and still doing the work is really all that you need to do. You just need to keep going.
Yeah, you need to keep going. I'll tell you a very funny story, and then we'll get back on track, because I know I go sideways, a billion times to one. I had a number of years ago, it's probably 7 or 8 years ago. My buddy Nick calls me up, and I've known him since high school and junior high, and he goes, "Hey, Greg, my wife and I, we want to sell our house. Would you come over and list it?" I said, "Not a problem." This is a Friday afternoon. I said, "Not a problem. I'm with my current girlfriend, and she and I are heading down to Monterey. I won an award, and they're going to give us a hotel for the weekend, and I'll come back on Monday and we'll list the house." He's like, "Cool." I call him on Monday. "Hey, Nick, when do you want me to come over?" "Oh, well, you didn't act fast enough, and so we listed with somebody else." And I'm like,
Wow.
"What the shit just happened?" I come to find out, his mom, who is a real estate agent, referred one of her friends. I was going to charge them 5%. She charged 6%. She then
Right.
got a 25% referral fee. And I'm like, "You understand, I could have saved you a full percent plus, the referral fee, and you would have made more money?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'll tell you one thing, that was the first time I ever experienced that, and it hurt. But guess what? Grow up.
It
It's
happens.
it's gonna
Yeah.
happen. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things where I think, emotionally, we're going to go through peaks and valleys. And if you
Yeah.
can just every day say, here's, like whether it's cold calls, door knocking, whether it's getting on social media and commenting on people so that they remember what it is you do and who you are, or whatever it is your daily activities are, getting to the gym, whatever, playing with your kids, whatever it is. If you just know that no matter what happens, weird stuff's going to happen today, some good, some bad, but I still have to get this stuff done. And if you could just get that stuff done, it just helps smooth out the ride.
It does. Gary Vee, when Matt and I, my podcast co-host on my show, when he and I started our show almost 5.5 years ago, whatever it is, he and I looked around and we're like, "Do you think anybody's going to listen to us?" And we're like, "I don't know. Do you still want to do it?" We're like, "Fuck yeah, we do." I'm like, "Cool." And so we looked around and we said, "Okay, who else is doing something like this?" And we looked at Gary Vee,
Yeah.
and we said, "Okay, how long did it take for Gary Vee to get to where he is?" And his first couple of years, it took him 18 months to get any kind of traction. And this is when he was filming downstairs in a basement with a video recorder, then having to upload it into YouTube.
Sure.
And so anything that's good is going to take time. Is it going to be your prospecting? Is it going to be your videos? Is it going to be your social media game? Is it going to be your door knocking, your calls, your whatever it's going to be? It's going to take time. You have to accept that and
Yeah.
just go with it.
Yeah, I know when I started this show, my boss, I had talked about it for years. I said, somebody needs to start interviewing top producers. And there wasn't a show that it was doing it at the time. Or I couldn't find one. If there was one, I couldn't find it. And so I said,
Mhm.
oh, I can do that. And he said, here's the deal. And my boss at my at the real estate company I work at, he goes, you have to commit to doing it for at least a year.
Mhm.
And then he goes, why don't you think about it before you do it and really decide if you can do that, with like probably not many listeners. And for the first year, we didn't have many listeners at all. And so it's taken years and years, same as in Gary Vee and your case as well. It just takes time. But the good news is all I have to do is just consistently do this. And thankfully people are responding to it. People respond to your show as well. Real Estate Uncensored. And of course, Gary Vee is a legend in the podcasting world as well. But anyway, that's all it is just daily consistent activity. But let's talk about some of the things that you are really specialized in.
Sure.
I would love to talk about blending sort of high tech and high touch, and sort of how does that work to reach more people online.
Sure. I mean, what would you like to know? I mean, there's a lot of things that I do. I do a show. I call it Beers and Calls, and it's when I go drink a beer, not beers. Just it just sounded better with beers and calls. Where I drink a beer and I go Facebook Live and I go to YouTube Live as well, and I do live prospecting calls. I go out and I go door knocking, and I just try to bring people from online to offline as fast as humanly possible, because that's where the relationships are made, especially during this time that we're living through with the pandemic. People are starving for human connection. And I found that doing calls, people are not, hanging up on you anymore. They're
Right.
like, oh my gosh, like a human, an adult. Yes, let's have a conversation. What do you want to talk about?
Right.
And they're willing to discuss different options as long as you have a good demeanor and you're not sounding scripted. And one of the things about being scripted is being unscripted. I know a lot of
Right.
people are going to, like, they're scratching the top of their heads right now going like, what in the blank is this guy talking about? And one of the things that we do to take people offline and start building that relationship and go in high tech, high touch really quickly is I try to humanize myself as much as possible by talking about, different things that they're interested in. So this is, I view a script as a backbone. We have different vertebrae in our backbone. It's a certain length, and there's certain things we want to achieve, but they're also attached to that backbone are ribs. So the ribs are going to be the side subject. So DJ, if you and I are talking and you're like, oh dude, I live in Chicago. Like we talked about in the pre-show. I'm like, oh, I've never been to Chicago. Tell me about it. Like what would are the hot dogs really as good as I always hear? And I live in San Francisco, and you're like, well, I've been to San Francisco several times. And then you and I bantered back and forth. And that's the rib side, right? We're building a relationship, but we can still bring it back to the core conversation, and then get interested in the other human being. As soon as you get interested in the other human being, they become interested in you because you're showing some, an admiration for them. I know it sounds simplistic, but it's very easy to do, guys, as long as you get out of your own way. And then, you know what, you say, you know what, DJ, you know what, you and I, you sound like a really cool man. I've never met you before, but I mean, do you like beer or coffee? What's your favorite one?
Coffee.
Okay, great, man. What's your favorite coffee shop?
Starbucks. I'm pretty easy.
Okay, great, man. Why don't we do this? Why don't we get together? I'll buy you a Starbucks, kind of go face to face and see how I can help you grow your business. Would that be okay with you?
Sounds good.
There it is. That is that's all you have to do to take it from online to offline, high tech to high touch. And here's the simple question that nobody asked. And DJ, I want to get your opinion on when's the last time you got to ask this question? DJ, I do a lot of calls and do a lot of proactive marketing like you can see right now because we're having a conversation. How can I help you grow your business? What would your perfect client look like? And then you shut up.
Right.
And you let them talk.
It's so funny. So I have heard many years ago, when I was a financial advisor 20 plus years ago, they brought in these consultants to help us with a very similar thing to what you're talking about. And I want to piggyback on it because what you just said was really, really powerful. And what they recommended was a very similar approach, which was to say, hey, like, for example, you're working with let's say, your wife's a physician. So we'll just use doctors as an example. So I worked with your wife. She was my client. I helped her find a
Doctor
home.
thingy.
Doctor thing, a home. And I said, hey, Mike's wife. But let's assume you weren't in the picture. You weren't a real estate agent. And I would say, hey, boy, I really loved working. First of all, after the transaction, I would say, can I take you for coffee? I was wondering if you could help me. I wanted to run an idea by you, and I just wanted 10 minutes of your time to get your opinion on something, which is also a super flattering thing to say, right? So you're like, hey, can I get your opinion on something? Now, obviously, your wife might not have time for this because of how hard she works. But anyway, if you could grab a few minutes, in the hospital cafeteria or wherever, I might say, hey, I was thinking I would really love to work. I had such a great time working with you. I would love to work with more doctors just like you. However, I don't really know doctors, and I don't really even know how to get in front of doctors. It's just, it's not my thing. I'm a real estate agent. If you were me, what advice would you have for me about how to get in touch with more doctors? And I thought that was such a brilliant little script. And it's you what you said was super brilliant as well, which is, you build rapport and then you find out what the person's into and then you take it offline, which I love. So I just wanted to throw that one on top of it too, because it just sparked my memory from 20 years ago. And I went, man, that is so good. And you never hear that either. Is, hey, can you help me? I was wondering if you could, I want to work with more doctors, that kind of thing.
No, it's genius because it's playing to people's ego, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying this in an egotistical way. What I'm
No.
saying is that everybody's their own favorite character in every story.
Right.
So why not play into that character and build them up? Let them know that they're important, that they're appreciated. My girl just bought a new house in San Francisco, and her agent, and I didn't know the San Francisco market, so I didn't even try to get involved in the sale of that property. I hope to buy one, but not sell.
Sure.
And the agent that she'd known forever, really did not appreciate her because this agent did not do anything to say thank you. And she's known this
Really?
woman for years,
Wow.
and like not even like a closing gift, nothing, right?
Wow.
And it just blew me away. I'm like, is this how everybody acts? Like this, is this normal? I mean, imagine, I don't have kids, right? But my
Right.
sister has 3, my brother has 4. And I didn't know this thing. You probably know this because are you a father?
No, I'm not. My
Okay.
sister, I have a nephew. That's it.
Okay, good. So maybe you and I
Mhm.
might be blind to both this whole concept. I didn't know there's a thing called a push present. And this
I've never
is
heard of that. Yeah.
it's a thing. And it's like right before a woman is going to give birth to a baby, the father, boyfriend, significant other, whatever else, they will give the lady a push present. And I'm like, if you're going to give a push present to a lady that's going to give birth, but you can't give a closing gift to a client who just paid you money, we
Right.
got a problem here, homie. You're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Priorities, and people really value the small things in life.
Always.
Her lender, my girlfriend's lender, he gave her a $25 gift certificate, and it's like
Right.
Bevmo or Home Depot or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And she talked about that shit for like 3 fucking weeks. And she's been bitching about her past agent for the last like 4 months. I mean, how's
Yeah,
that way out?
it is so funny, and it's really two things, I think. So you're so right. One of the things that Brian Buffini just absolutely got right, and a lot. Obviously he's gotten a lot of things right, but the
Right.
one thing that is, if you just start writing personal notes, like you were saying, you'd go door knocking, and then you'd come home and write. Like nobody does that even now. Nobody did it 20 years ago. Nobody's been doing it forever, and it is just one of those things that whenever you get an actual handwritten note, which I get maybe 2 or 3 a year outside of the holidays.
Right.
From actual just, hey, I'm thinking about you, or thanks for this, or whatever, maybe 2, maybe. So there's that. It's like it's the little things, but it's not really a little thing. Like it's a little thing to do, but it means so much. Like your girlfriend, like a $25 gift certificate, no big deal. But to her is like, hey, that was really thoughtful. And then selling a expensive home and not getting any sort of recognition, that's also a small thing to do, and she didn't receive that, and so she's going to be talking about it. And then yeah, the other thing too, and back to just like getting interested in people, is that's the like if everyone listening can just start to build this practice of finding out what other people are really into, like what's their passion. Like you were asking me a similar thing earlier, but like, what are you into? What are your hobbies? And I don't like the word hobbies because nobody really thinks of their stuff as hobbies, but like,
Right.
what are you into? What do you do when you get home at night? Like, what are you into? If you can get excited to find that out, then you can customize any sort of gift or just appreciation, or hey, you were telling me you're into this, and I saw this thing online and I thought of you, and check it out. And there's all sorts of ways, but you have to get into people, I think.
Yeah, you really do, and there's the name of the site. I'm trying to Google it as fast as I can when you're talking. It's something extreme clubs or exclusive clubs, or I'll remember before the end of the show. But we can go on there when you're talking to people. gosh, dang it, this is like driving me nuts. I can't remember the stupid name of the stupid website.
We will put it in the notes of the show. So if you're listening to this on a podcast app, it should be in the notes.
Yeah, we'll figure it out when my brain turns on later. But what it is, it's where you can go and there's like cigar clubs, coffee clubs, cookie
Yeah,
clubs,
I
dog
love it.
food clubs, wine clubs, beer clubs. You figure it out. But I mean, you can when you're talking to folks and you just hone in on some of the stuff that they're talking about. Like I have a client right now. He loves cigars, right? And so
Yeah,
one of the extreme was it extreme clubs? No, that's not it. But I mean, it's one of those things that I heard him talk about it because you can buy either like 3 months, 6 months, 12 months
sure.
of these clubs, and you have it delivered either to them or to yourself. I'd have it delivered to yourself. Then you can call them up and be like, "Hey DJ, guess what up, homie? It's cigar time. When can
Yeah.
when can I come over and drop off your next batch of 10 cigars?" But it's just hearing people. It's not
Yeah.
people move so fast. I mean, look at Instagram and Facebook when they're just scrolling as fast as possible.
Infinite scroll.
Infinite scroll, and you
Yeah.
don't remember 99.9% of the shit that you
Right.
see. But you know what? Like I have my friend Nikki. I love this woman to death. She knew I was having a rough day, right? And so what
Yeah.
she did is she made me, all of you guys are listening, these are custom coasters with my
Oh,
podcast Real
that's
Estate
awesome.
censored on them. Not to mention then she sent me this in the same package. She sent me a pack of Cohiba cigars.
Oh, nice.
And I haven't smoked them because I like them so much. I like them sitting here in the box. But I think about it every single time that I see these. Now, what's this gonna do to someone's mind if you do this on a consistent basis and you just are genuinely good human being? Because you're going from online to all of a sudden offline. And why these have been here for over a year, these cigars. Why have I not smoked these? Because they make me feel good. That my emotions go back to that day. And then I called her up and I'm like, why did you send me Cohiba cigars? She's like, you're a guy. You're supposed to smoke cigars. I thought you'd like them. And I'm like, I freaking love you.
Yeah.
But it makes me think of her every single time that I see it. Now, she and I have never met in person. That's the other great part about it. Like, there's no actual interaction. Like, we've never seen each other in human form. But imagine the power that you would have if, like, I recently, we were recording this on the December 15th. On December 9th, I had to put my cat down, unfortunately,
Oh, sorry.
out of the blue. And
No.
the outpouring of people going, oh my God, virtual hugs, sending you stuff, yada, yada. And it was just that interaction of people calling me up, sending me videos, Facebook messages and everything else. You couldn't pay me more to feel the feeling that I felt with the love that I got from people. So if you want to make an impact in somebody's life, just send them love, listen to
Yeah.
them, hear where they're coming from, be empathetic to them, and be consistent and persistent on shedding as much love as you can around the world, because you know what, one day you're going to need it. And once you get it and once you feel it, you're never going to forget it. And these people that you touch on a daily basis through your calls, your emails, your Facebook videos, your Instagrams, whatever it's going to be, as long as you feed into their life, they will pay it back to you in dividends you cannot imagine. And there's no amount of marketing that you could ever match this. But it's just taking the first step and going, you know what, DJ, I'm super sorry, brother. I saw that you lost your cat, and I want to tell you I love you. I'm thinking about you, and
Yeah.
you're my hearts and prayers. And if I can ever do anything to bring value to you, just let me know. But my heart's with you. Come on, man. I mean,
It's
how does that
huge.
get any better?
It's huge. And I will tell you, funny enough, not funny, but I actually did lose a cat a couple months ago myself.
Oh,
So we are in the same club of cat loss.
oh,
Yeah, my girlfriend got me this, I guess it's an urn. It's like a box, and
yeah.
it's a little box. It's a wooden box, and she was able to find a picture of her cat, of my cat, and she got it etched into the top. So I have her ashes in there.
Oh,
So, but I will tell you, I got this, and we were on vacation. We actually were in California when the cat passed away, and so we came back, and then a few weeks later, she got me this, this box, and yes, when I look at it, and this is really to your point earlier, when I look at it, Yes, I think about my cat, but you know what I think more about is I am dating a woman who was thoughtful enough to think about getting this for me, which she absolutely did not have to do. And quite frankly, if the roles were reversed, she has a cat as well. Her cat is alive. I don't know that it would have occurred to me to do that. And so every time I look at this box, I'm like, wow, my girlfriend is amazing. And
Yeah.
so yes, I think about my cat too, but even more than that, I think about, wow, I'm so glad I'm with somebody who's that thoughtful. And so the point is any one of us can do this. And social media is so helpful for us to know these things when they happen to our, sphere of influence, our contacts. But, a lot of people think, well, what should I be posting on social media? And yes, that's something to figure out. But the other thing is, you should be reading a lot, and you should be checking out to see what's going on in your clients' lives, so that you can reach out when someone's cat passes and say, hey man, I just saw that your cat passed, I am so sorry, just like you said. Boy, that's going to go so far.
Oh, so far. I mean, I use send out cards, and I mean, this obviously not has to do with death or anything, but I'm holding up a card that I'm going to show you guys. I posted this on social media a couple of years ago. My friend Gail Zentek, who is my BFF, and it's a picture of a cockpit of a ski boat that I
Wow.
really wanted. And then she took the inside, and she really got the whole picture of the boat on the inside of the card, and it touched me so much because she's like, someone took the time to do that. We've lost touch with the inner part of our relationships. We want to make it so fast and so easy and so simple, but in reality, we're passing over all the great things about a relationship. And it doesn't have to be like a dating or a marriage relationship. It could be a
Sure.
friendship. It could be
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
father to a daughter, a mother to a son, a brother to a sister, whatever variation you want to put in there. It's just saying, you know what, DJ, you are a good freaking human being, and you're on my heart. And I just want to say hello. How are you? Can I bring any value to your life today? My connections, your connections, and I just want to make sure that you live the best version of your life. Would that be okay? Can we get together and get a cup of coffee? I'll buy.
I
I mean,
love it.
when the fuck have you ever heard that been said?
Never. Very rarely. Very, very rarely. I would love to talk about video, because
Sure.
this is something that you spend a lot of time with. And also, with the pandemic, all of us now have webcams. If we didn't before, we certainly have one now. And we are now stuck at home a lot more than we were. And maybe that will, unfortunately, that may happen again in the next few months while we're rolling out the vaccine. But anyway, the point is people are at home. You were mentioning they're a lot easier to have phone calls with, but it's also a great time for agents to start thinking about getting comfortable in front of a camera and creating content. And I'd love to
Right.
get any thoughts and advice you have for agents that are like, I'm not really a in front of the camera person. What could they do to start creating content that would be interesting to their audience?
Fantastic question. A couple of things. I might go on a rant here, so if you want to reel
Please.
me back in, that's okay. So one of the things that I've been doing a lot is that I use a program called Ghost Poster. My friend Monica Weekly, she created this thing, and what it does is that she'll email you every morning at 4 a.m. A funny or different kind of post you can post up on your Instagram and Facebook stories. And so what her whole theory and idea is that you do one personal post, one professional post a day, so people get to know your personality, and they also they're reminded that you're in the real estate business. And so I've been posting those, and they are getting phenomenal results. And that's about $200 a year. So if you don't want to pay for that, that's totally cool. Another idea is going to Pinterest, type in real estate memes or funny real estate video
Yeah.
photos or whatever else, grabbing one of those and posting it up. I mean, I did a funny, silly photo. I have a big pool that I live right above over here. And the other day, about a month or two ago, when it was actually warm out, I was just kind of being a goofball, and I had my laptop and my phone, and I just took a photo of me in my swimsuit and my pool, just hashtag working from the pool today. Got almost 1,400 views, and some of you that's a very small amount, some of you that's a large amount. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that start being you, and start posting stories. Stories have an exceptionally larger view rate than actual posts,
Right.
because people are curious and only 15 to 30 seconds long. So it's a very easy consumptual amount of time that people can go through. Just be you. Doesn't matter what you are. If you're going, like I took a run a couple of months ago on a Saturday morning. My girlfriend's working, and I was just like, ah, shit, I got to go for a run. I feel like a fat ass. So I go out there, and halfway through the run, I'm sitting there going like, what am I doing? And I went live and I did a quick post about how much this sucks. And people said, oh my God, you're such an inspiration. Thank you so much. This is incredible.
Yeah.
My chunky butt just running down the road. That's inspirational? Okay, cool.
Right.
But to get really down to the nitty gritty, if we want to talk real stuff, guys, get a pen and paper out. I'm going to tell you exactly where to go get content for shooting videos on a consistent basis. The first one is going to be realtytimes.com. You go to realtytimes.com, go to the consumer advice, part. It'll be a big drop down. There'll be all kinds of different, venues or things you can look at and open up and look at articles. I would personally, this is me, you do you, but I would go focus on the buyer and the seller advice tabs. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of articles in there that have a sexy, proven title. And they have short little poppy articles, maybe a page and a half to 2 pages long. Read it, barf it back out on camera. Don't actually read it, but barf it back out with your opinion on it. And then you can do that consistently. And it's going to do two things. One, it's going to get you more educated if you're a new agent or just getting restarted again on kind of some of the new stuff that's happening. Also, you're going to be able to put this into YouTube, and then you can create playlists. And the playlists, then when you meet a buyer or a seller in different situations, you can say, oh my God, what's your best email? Let me send you over my YouTube link. Here's my reel on buying or selling. Yeah. The other site that I would go to would be Neighborhood Scout. And Neighborhood Scout is a fantastic site. Now, here's the thing. When you're on Neighborhood Scout, I would only type in a zip code. And when you type in a zip code, it's going to pop up all this information about it. And then you're going to scroll down, you're going to see a map of it. Now there's going to be different colors of the micro markets within the master market of that zip code. Now there's going to be real estate stuff, information. There's going to be notable and unique people and places. There's going to be ethnicity and ancestry. There's going to be languages. There's going to be jobs. There's going to be transportation. There's going to be a bunch of different variations. You can make at least 3 videos per micro market for that one zip code. That, my friends, is something that nobody is doing, and you can really crush it. The next thing I would do is I would go to the Chamber of Commerce in your city. Right now with the pandemic, or in any time of life, businesses are always looking to get visibility. Say, hey, look, my name is Greg McDaniel. I'm with eXp Realty. I'm looking to help build up the local businesses that are having a rough time right now, or just build up local businesses in the community, and get the contact information. Contact these local businesses and say, hey, look, this is who I am. I want to do a puff piece on you. And I just want to ask you some very simple questions. I just want to make you the best you can possibly be. And then I'm going to post it on my Instagram and my Facebook and my YouTube. And then I'm going to take it. I'm going to take photos. If you give me permission to use your photos, I'm going to tag you in my stories about a local business doing locally good things. And guys, I'm seriously fucking serious about this. Once you start doing this, right?
Huge.
They have relationships with people you would never know. And these people give them money for their product. What do you think their friends and family and coworkers and everyone else is going to do when you give to them and boost it for maybe $50 to $100 for the next week or two? Get out of here, man. I mean, your content ability is infinite. I mean, there's so much stuff to talk about. And if you like ducks, go talk about ducks. But I mean, what I'm saying is build up your local businesses, find something that you have a passion for, concentrate, the 80-20, rule, 80% on kind of who you are, 20% on actual real estate, and just go out there and start creating, video content and let people get to know you. They're dying to know somebody who cares about them. Everybody cares about themselves, but hardly anybody cares about anybody else in this day and age. So be that change, be that difference, be that human being that's going to go, you know what? Sally's Bakery, my mom's name's Sally, so I always use that name. Sally's Bakery, you're struggling. How can we help get the news out about that? Or Fred's, suit shop. or fill in the gap, or, Mike's restaurant, that serves, fill in the blank food. Just let people know who you are. You're there to give. And I mean, if you want, we can talk about equipment, but I'm not sure. I mean, I just dumped a ton of stuff on you right there.
Yeah, you did. And I wanted to tag on to that because you talked about working with local businesses. Obviously, everyone listening and watching knows that real estate is hyper local. And of course, so are small businesses. And so, what Greg just said was so powerful because you can go to all of your favorite local establishments and you have to think about it from the owner's perspective. They're getting calls all day long asking them to pay for advertising, newspapers, television, billboards, social media. Yelp is calling them saying, hey, advertise with us. They're getting so many calls to spend money to promote their business. And yet now you're going to call and say, hey, you're my favorite clothing shop, Fred's Clothing. And I'm a realtor and I have a following on Instagram. I would love just to come out to your store, do if you can do that with, right now the pandemic, or maybe we could do a Zoom thing or whatever. But I would love just to introduce my audience to your clothes. Would that be okay? And the guy's going to be falling over himself, whoever the owner is, to Fred to get you in that store because you're doing it for free. And then maybe you even say, hey, Fred, if you want to do like a giveaway or if you want to do a coupon or something, we could even do that. But that's up to them. But just the idea that you're giving them value for free is oh my God, that it's not only going to, hopefully, like you said, Fred and whoever owns that store is hopefully going to keep you in mind for if they ever need a realtor, and maybe they're going to share it on social media because you're going to tag them, say, hey, Fred, would you do me a favor and share this with your group as well? But also all the people that follow you are going to be like, wow, Greg is a really good dude. Look, he went over to this guy just to help his business. And you were just, it's all about caring. You just said, what you said was so powerful there.
It is about caring. And here's another tip for you guys. This is something I didn't even know last summer that this was a thing, but I started doing this. I went to Groupon, and what I would do is I go to Groupon and I would look for discounts, and then I would call the store owners up and say, hey, look, I see that you're offering out 50% off on your ice cream, whatever, right? Fill in the blank. And did you know, seriously, did you know that Groupon, what they do is they bill the people up, the businesses up front, then they take up to 50% of the proceeds on the back end on any sales? I'm like, that's super fucked up. Yeah. And so I said, you know what? Hey, DJ, I know you own DJ's bikes here in town. I see your discount on Groupon. I'm a real estate agent with X, Y, and Z company. Could I offer that out to my database? And I don't want any of your back end money. I just want to take the same offer. Would you be okay with that? And I would love to come in and do an interview with you and kind of get you seen to my people. That is a 100% success rate.
Yeah.
Hands down. And it's just thinking about those small things, right? Like you and I, our brains move very, very quickly. And I know a lot of the people that are listening to your show, they are also very intelligent human beings. And, it's just thinking outside the box. My grandfather, and a long time ago when I used to be a deer hunter, I used to ask my grandfather this one thing. I said, Grandpa, how can you see the deer?
Right.
And he's like, Greg, look for what doesn't belong. And I put this into business going the same way, like, okay, what doesn't belong or what could be here? How can I fill this gap or this hole? How can I, do something that's out of the box that nobody else is doing? So is it standing on my head in quicksand? Is it going and doing live videos? Is it, helping out local businesses? Is it, running a charity event for abandoned animals? I mean, what is it that you have a passion for? How can you make a difference? And where can you just bring joy and light? Because on a national average, there 14% of the time, every time you do something philanthropic, people want to work with you more just because you did something that is close to near and dear to their heart. So it's very simple. Just go be you. It's like, the same thing we keep saying, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it's just it's so funny. We've been talking we're coming up on an hour here, and we haven't really talked about real estate at all because you and I are marketing guys really at heart, right? And so we're always thinking about and marketing from an authentic and genuine place, not in a how do I sort of convince this other person to work with me. You don't really have to worry about objections if you're just and yes, you should have answers to all questions that are asked by clients. You should have them locked and loaded. You should practice them in the mirror. You should know exactly what you're going to say when someone says, "Why do you charge 6% when I could do it for 3% on on Redfin or wherever. You should have those answers ready to go, no question about it. But if you also demonstrate that you are a caring, good human being, and you do all of the right things, which is give a shit about people. If you just do that and you demonstrate it, then you're going to be successful. Even if you're not a great real estate agent, if all you do is care, you should be a good real estate agent too. But I've seen some bad agents who still get a lot of business because they care.
Oh, it is literally comes down to caring. I'll tell you this last story because I know we got to wrap it up here. A couple of years ago, my dad's been alcohol free for almost 2 years now. Actually, just past 2 years.
Congrats.
Yeah, and I'm very happy for him because I mean it was
awesome.
kind of becoming an issue for him. But the grandmaster, my mom looked at my dad one day and goes, "Hey, you're getting fat. What are you going to do about this?" my dad had 2 replaced knees, and so he couldn't go run anymore. He used to be a big runner. So he went up to the country club where they've been members for like 35, 40 years, something stupid. And what he did, he just got in the pool and he swam. Now, why is this story important? Because he just did something that he had a passion for, because his wife, my mom, goes, "Hey, chunky butt, get your bitch ass in the pool or do something." And my dad's like, "Roger that." And so he got in there and he started making friends. Now, why is this important? Because when he started making friends with people, he started creating bonds over swimming. Now, how does this relate back to real estate? Well, one of the guys that he was swimming with wanted to sell his house. And so he said, "Hey, Terry, since we've been swimming together, would you come up? And I know you're in real estate. Would you come up and, give me an evaluation?" So we went up there. We listed his house for about $2.7 to $3 million.
Oh my goodness.
Somewhere in there. Now, here's the funny part. As soon as we listed that house, the neighbor had a $4.4 million home that we listed. And I actually asked her one day, she's one of the largest collectors. She is actually the largest Dutch art, collector in the world. Outside of museums and stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And she's a sweet woman. And I'm like, why did you list with us?" And she's like, "Because my neighbor said you were great."
Yeah.
And that's online to offline.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Like you said, DJ, just give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wish we had more exciting, sexy things to talk about, but really, at the end of the day, that's it. And the cool part about it is now with social media, we have the ability to. It's just so much easier to find out what people are into, and just go out there, but go out in the real world and participate, right? Like whatever you're passionate about, don't stay online exclusively. Go out, obviously right now it's a little challenging to get out and do things, but yeah, find whatever you're passionate about, get involved, give back, find out what your clients are into. You should have that in every your CRM. You should know what every one of your clients' hobbies and interests are, so that you can look out for stuff for them and then send it to them or deliver it to them, like your friend did with the coasters and the cigars and the card. I mean, those are all just wonderful thought. And here you are talking about it today, and at the same point, your girlfriend had this home that I'm sure was lovely, and she's can't stop complaining about her agent who didn't really demonstrate a whole lot of care after the sale, but the $25 gift card from the lender was like, "Oh my god, isn't that great? They gave me," and it's always, you're right, it's always the little things. And the little things are almost always really inexpensive, if not free as well. That's sort of the other best part, is it's not necessarily an expensive thing to do, is to care about people, but it's going to pay you back in such high dividends.
Oh, it totally will. She sold a $1.75 million property and she bought a 1.9. And I'll tell you one thing, like for her to get excited about a $25 gift certificate at that price point.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine what any client, any human being would get excited about. I mean, what if you heard that your clients loved Nutter Butters, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you went to Costco and you bought them a whole huge thing of Nutter Butters, and you dropped it in their lap and you're like, "Hey, homie, this is for you," and they would go banana cakes, right?
Yeah.
Just because you heard them.
Right.
I mean, you and I have to do another show. You're going to come on my
Oh
show.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Love to have you on as a more frequent guest because we could do this all day long. But I
Oh,
want everyone right now to, if you're driving, don't maybe pull over before you do this. But if you're not driving, I want everyone to go onto go onto Google, type in "Real Estate Uncensored." You'll find their podcast, or just pull up your podcast app. It's on iTunes, it's on Google Play, it's at Stitcher, it's everywhere. Real Estate Uncensored, and subscribe. It's absolutely worth listening to. We're big fans. And yeah, and we got to have Greg on a more regular basis. But Greg, this might be actually, if we can get this out before the end of the year, this probably will be our last episode of 2020. If not, if you're listening to this in 2021, maybe it's the first episode of the year. But either way, we wanted to thank you, all of our listeners and our viewers for continuing to support our show for all these years. We're going to keep pushing forward. So is Real Estate Uncensored. They've been doing it even longer than we have. And I want all of our listeners to support both shows. And the easiest way to do that, number one, subscribe, which we just suggested that you do, but also tell a friend. Think of one other agent that could benefit from listening to people like Greg or any of the other wonderful guests that we have, and send them a link to our show. Easiest way to do that, find us online at keepingitrealpod.com. Again, keepingitrealpod.com. And please also follow us on Facebook. Also, by the way, we'll have all of Real Estate Uncensored's information on our Facebook page too, but find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Keeping It Real Pod. Greg, thank you so much. This was great. We are definitely doing this again.
Dude, I cannot. This hour flew by so stinking fast. We definitely have to do it more. I can't wait to have you on my show, guys. So if you guys are
and I'll be on his show as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that off air, but we're gonna get a couple of times, either sooner or later, depends on kind of what show you want to do. But yeah, you're definitely gonna come on, and I want to go down this rabbit hole deeper. We can talk about tech, we can talk about equipment, we can talk about video topics, we can talk about responses, we can talk about how to get out and reach people on a deeper basis. But I am humbled, I am honored, I am so privileged to be a part of your show. You guys are a class act, and I am just so excited to hopefully come back on and get you on mine, and we're just going to rock the house and have some more fun.
All right, Greg McDaniel, everyone. Thank you, Greg. On behalf of the audience, we say thank you. And on behalf of Greg and myself to our audience, we say thank you for continuing to listen and support our show. We will see you next time. Thanks, Greg.
Later, bud.